Why do we get grey hair? Big one that can impact this are nutrient deficiencies. Food sources, one of the great antioxidants we have. What strategies are there to reverse that grey hair, and what you can do in the comfort of your own home in order to reverse this process or stop this process in its tracks so that you can maintain long, luscious, healthy, coloured hair for the long term. Keep watching to find out exactly why and exactly how this can be done. So grey hair, it's something we're all bothered about, and it's unfortunately a sad fact of life that most people, as they're going to grow older, are going to develop some grey hair. But some people develop it a lot earlier than others. And what we're going to discuss in this video is first, why do people even get grey hair in the first place? Why is it a thing? But also, can it be stopped and can it be reversed? Answer might surprise you. So just before we delve into the deep dive of why exactly it happens, the quick answer is yes, it can be stopped and it can be reversed. But keep watching to find out exactly why and exactly how this can be done. So first up, why do we get grey hair? Well, let's talk about what gives the hair the color it actually has. Because grey hair is not actually grey hair or white hair. It's actually transparent hair. It's a lack of pigment that leads to that color. But when light shines through it, then it looks grey, it looks white. And that's why we call it grey hair or white hair. But really, it's colorless hair. It's actually what's going on, a lack of pigment. Now, in terms of pigment, our body's natural pigment is something called melanin. And we have melanin all over the place. You can see my skin is brown. That's because of melanin that's in the skin cells. Hair is no different. The amount of melanin in the hair is going to determine what color that hair actually is. And I'll put a picture up on the screen of the anatomy of a hair follicle itself. But you'll notice at the bottom of the shaft, there's what we call the bulge, which is a great name for that area. Inside that bulge, you have what's called the bulb of the hair follicle. And right next to it is where the melanocytes live. Melanocytes, if we break it down, melano meaning melanin, cytes meaning cells. So melanocytes are melanin producing cells. And these cells that live right next to this bulb of the hair follicle, as you grow older and as you go through life, they continually pump in melanin into the bulb of the hair, which is where the hair grows from. That way, all of the new hair is saturated in melanin and has color. And that's why you have black hair or brown hair and so on and so forth. However, there is a natural process we all go through called aging, and unfortunately it's something we can't really stop. In terms of what the cells do as you age, remember each cell has a certain life cycle. For example, a blood cell only stays alive for about 120 days. That's why if you're taking iron tablets in order to raise your iron levels, it will take 3 or 4 months before you see the actual iron levels being raised, because all the old blood cells need to die off first before the iron can be deposited into new blood cells. That's why when we're doing iron testing, we test it every 3 or 4 months instead of every single week, because it's pointless to do that. However, as you age, cells divide, and that's how they make more cells. You have one single cell, it copies itself over into another cell. Every time you copy a cell over, you have to copy every single part of that cell. And the most important part is going to be the DNA, your DNA, which is inside that cell. And some of you may know, some of you may not, but DNA is super complicated, and essentially it's like a really long computer code of how to build our bodies. When you copy over that code, similar to like copy pasting on the computer, sometimes errors can occur. You might copy the whole paragraph, for example, and maybe one of the letters or one of the words is a bit wrong. This happens with DNA as well. You can copy the whole thing over into a new cell, but there are small errors that do come up. A slightly switched letter over there or a slightly wrong sequence over there, and that over time leads to mistakes and errors and damage to DNA over time. And that's really what aging causes. That is the process of aging. That leads to so many age-related diseases. When you're copying these errors over, your body does have natural mechanisms to stop this, right? It's got like a scanner, similar to like a word check software on Microsoft Word or something like that, where it will go through the text, figure out which words are wrong and correct it. And if there's too much wrong, then it will just delete the whole paragraph and kill the cell and make you divide another cell. But over time, these processes get less accurate. Your body it's just a human being, it's not a computer. So it does start making mistakes as you get older, and some of these errors slip through. And naturally, you will see that these melanocytes that are right next to the bulge or inside the bulge of the hair follicle, they start to become less and less numerous and they start to die off, which means they are producing less melanin overall. So the color starts to fade. And a lot of that is controlled by your genetics. Your genetics sort of determine how soon you're going to go grey, and your type of hair, your hair quality, all that kind of is determined by genetics. But there are definitely lifestyle factors that can make that happen quicker, because anything that is causing any DNA damage, and a really big one is stress, but things like smoking, bad diet, poor exercise, poor sleep, all the general lifestyle factors that we doctors harp on about all of the time, these all lead to stress in the body, and that does translate, unfortunately, to DNA damage, which can speed up this process sooner than you would otherwise have expected it to come. But that still doesn't explain why exactly does it go grey, right? Why does all of the melanin disappear? Surely there should be a gradual decline until you pass away, where it's slowly getting greyer and greyer over time. And you do kind of see that sometimes, but unfortunately another part of the process that hair follicles go through, because they have their own metabolism, right? They make and produce chemicals and things for themselves. One of the byproducts of metabolism in the hair cell or the hair follicle is a chemical called hydrogen peroxide. And some of you may see that in other walks of life, particularly in hair bleach, because hydrogen peroxide is a waste product, a byproduct of metabolism that builds up in the hair follicle. Normally your body has an enzyme called catalase, and it's the job of this enzyme, catalase, to break down hydrogen peroxide and get rid of it. But again, all to do with aging, as you grow older, you have less and less catalase, or it's less and less effective, which means over time that hydrogen peroxide starts to build up in the hair. And I kind of alluded to it a little bit earlier, but you could go out to the shops right now and buy yourself some bleach, some hair bleach, not the bleach for cleaning toilets, and you'll notice that it's made out of hydrogen peroxide, because that's what hydrogen peroxide does. It destroys melanin. And so naturally, if you're building up hydrogen peroxide in your hair follicles, it's going to literally bleach your hair, and therefore it goes grey, it goes white. Not only that, the hydrogen peroxide also interferes with an enzyme called tyrosinase, and tyrosinase is also very important for melanin production. So not only is it bleaching your hair by destroying melanin, it's actually preventing further melanin production. And so overall, you end up with a lack of pigment, so you end up with grey hair. And that's pretty much what's going on there. And we refer to this process, the hydrogen peroxide and so on and so forth. We call it, as a catch-all term, we say this is oxidative stress, to do with hydrogen peroxide and reactive oxygen species. So it's not just down to stress about why you get grey hair, but it's down to oxidative stress, which is not necessarily mental stress, but is related. Speaking of oxidative stress, it's not all just down to hydrogen peroxide as to why you lose hair, because not only do you get grey hair, but you also lose hair as you age as well, right? For both men and women. For men, most of that is going to be the testosterone issues, the DHT, dihydrotestosterone, as the reason why men primarily lose their hair. And we call this androgenetic alopecia. But hair does tend to thin out over time anyway. Even in the absence of DHT-induced hair loss, you can actually have thinner hair in general, just as you age, more diffuse hair loss. A lot of this is again to do with the hair follicle being damaged itself, because I'm sure you guys will remember the mitochondria is the powerhouse of the cell, and there are mitochondria in every single cell in our body because that's how we make energy. Well, mitochondria do release something called reactive oxygen species, which is also involved in that oxidative stress pathway. So you're having two sources of oxidative stress now. You're having the hydrogen peroxide buildup in the hair follicle itself. You're also having the reactive oxygen species being produced by the mitochondria in the hair follicle in the cell. And so put these two together, you go grey. So a pretty quick sort of understanding of why exactly hair goes grey. It's a little bit more complicated than that, but that gives you a good sort of understanding about what's going on. So then if you're an enterprising scientific person yourself, you would think, right, how can we stop this? Well, the key thing is maybe getting rid of hydrogen peroxide and getting rid of reactive oxygen species, right? And you'd be 100% correct. That's exactly how we try and stop it and how we try to reverse it. We do have something called antioxidants. And the reason called antioxidants is because they combat oxidative stress. And so that's the whole role of antioxidants. And our body makes quite a few, but there's so many you can get from outside as well. There's so many different fruits, plants, chemicals, compounds, and so on that have really high antioxidant properties. And I'm sure you've seen it plastered all over different advertisings, all over different products and different fruits and so on, but oh, it's really high in antioxidants. Well, this is what they're talking about. Antioxidants do a lot to combat oxidative stress. And oxidative stress is one of the main factors that drive the appearance of aging. Let's have a quick chat about what sort of factors determine how much oxidative stress your body will go through. A large part, and a part we can't really change, is going to be genetics. Your mum and your dad were both grey by the time they're 30. Chances are you're probably going to be grey by the time you're 30 as well. And there's not much you can really do about that. That's genetics. We can't really change that at the moment. But there are other sources. There are lifestyle factors. So a really common one that people know causes hair loss is stress. And in this point, I'm not just talking oxidative stress, I'm talking mental stress, life stress, emotional stress. That chronic stress or high pressure environment does lead to increased levels of oxidative stress, does lead to you losing further hair and going grey a lot earlier on, because it does raise your cortisol levels, the stress hormone, and that has been shown to be involved in processes like this. So lifestyle, what you can do is definitely manage your stress levels, manage your pressure. Make sure you're doing your hobbies, make sure you're eating well, sleeping well, all that sort of thing in order to maintain a good, healthy state so that you don't build up too much stress. And another big one that can impact this are nutrient deficiencies. The most common culprits are going to be B12, iron, zinc, folic acid, and copper. These are the most common culprits that are usually deficient when someone's trying to investigate why their hair has gone grey. So speaking of antioxidants then, so as I mentioned earlier, antioxidants do combat oxidative stress. And we've shown that oxidative stress is the primary factor that leads to greying of the hair. So antioxidants, they're a good thing. So how do we get antioxidants? Stay to the end here because I'm going to give you what is the #1 master antioxidant that has the highest level of antioxidant activity and is the one you probably want to take over all others. But let's list out some of the common sources where you can get yourself a bunch of antioxidants into your system. And there's really no upper limit. They're great, they're always going to be great, get as much as you can in. Just be mindful of the other things that come in the sources of antioxidants. So for example, let's talk about food sources. Food sources, one of the great antioxidants we have are vitamin C and vitamin E. And you'll find these in lots of citrus fruit, other fruits as well, like acai berries, strawberries, raspberries. You find them in nuts as well and in seeds. So that's where you'll find your vitamin C, your vitamin E. As I said earlier, the packaging, so you don't want to just consume 50,000 limes or lemons a day because you're going to have other problems from all the other things in limes and lemons. Ideally, you would want to have enough to get a good level of vitamin C, but not do too much. So you can't just consume all the food, but that's where you would find your vitamin C and vitamin E. Some more good sources of antioxidant activity are going to be polyphenols and flavonoids. And where you would find these things, polyphenols and flavonoids, are going to be very abundant in things like green tea, dark chocolate, red grapes, and there's an easy hack here, colorful vegetables. Most vegetables that have weird and wild colors, like yellow peppers, green peppers, red, so pomegranate, dragon fruit, this sort of thing that have a lot of colors in the fruit, they tend to be high in antioxidants. That's not 100% true in every single case, but that tends to be fairly accurate. More colorful the fruit, more colorful the vegetable, probably the more higher the antioxidant level. And let's talk about certain minerals, right? Because minerals we get from our food as well. And the two most important antioxidant minerals that you get from there are going to be selenium and zinc. And these minerals are quite important because they directly support what I referred to earlier as our #1 antioxidant. And that is going to be something called glutathione. Now, glutathione, also called GSH or GTH, but glutathione is our body's preferred antioxidant. It's the one that our body makes for itself in order to have its antioxidant activity. So it's probably the most effective form of antioxidant that you can take. Now, typically you can't really get extra glutathione, your body makes it by itself. But what you can do is support your body's production of glutathione. And where I said earlier, selenium and zinc, these directly support the enzymes that end up producing glutathione. So that's why they're very, very good. But you can actually take glutathione by itself. You can take it as a tablet, but far more effectively is going to be taking it as an infusion, mixed into fluid and injected directly into the veins through a fluid drip or like a vitamin drip of some sort. This way of taking glutathione is excellent. And the higher your levels of glutathione, you will notice much higher antioxidant activity, which can stop graying of the hair and actually lighten your skin in certain cases as well. Just as a quick aside on the current state of the market here, you will find glutathione tablets all over the place. The majority of those are not going to work. The reason for that is because glutathione unfortunately gets destroyed by stomach acid really, really easily. So unless that glutathione is protected in some way, then it's not going to make it through the stomach acid and therefore not going to be absorbed into your system. So what you'd want to look for if you insist on taking an oral tablet or supplement that contains glutathione is you would want a specific form of glutathione, which is called liposomal glutathione. This way, a large part of the glutathione does make it through past the stomach acid, therefore can be absorbed, and you can do it that way. But just be careful, don't just buy any old glutathione, get liposomal glutathione. Let's talk about a few antioxidants that are actually under investigation, right? So people have heard about these and you kind of see them, you'll see them on YouTube, you'll see them on TikTok, people talking about them. They're not really giving much information on what exactly it is. So here are a few compounds that are under investigation at the moment for the antioxidant activity. Some of them you might have heard of before, some maybe not. When I say under investigation, they show good promise, but has it been scientifically proven to work in all cases, and has the exact level of effect been determined? Not yet. So that's why they're under investigation. But the first one is a class of compounds called catalase boosters. And remember, catalase is the thing that actually gets rid of hydrogen peroxide in the hair follicle. So catalase boosters does what it says on the tin. They boost the activity of catalase and therefore make them work more effectively. The next set are something called L-cysteine or glutathione precursors. A very famous one a lot of people might know about is something called N-acetylcysteine. That's a glutathione precursor, and precursor in this case meaning previous product, right? Or so that N-acetylcysteine gets converted into glutathione. So that's why it's a precursor to glutathione. So NAC is a very, very common, very famous one. There's another one called L-cysteine as well. Both of these are precursors to glutathione, and so can help to increase the activity of glutathione and therefore increase the activity of antioxidants. And the last one is certain plant extracts. One that's getting a lot of traction, a lot of investigation at the moment is something called resveratrol, which you primarily find in the skin of grapes, and something called curcumin, which you primarily find in turmeric. This is why a lot of people actually drink turmeric shots and so on and so forth. Maybe it might explain why Asian people from India, Pakistan and so on tend to have really good hair as well. They use a lot of turmeric in their cooking. And lastly, let's talk about lifestyle antioxidants. And these are not physical sources of antioxidants. These rather are things you can do to boost your own body's production of antioxidants, irregardless of supplements and any external factors. That's why I call them lifestyle antioxidants. Number one is going to be sleeping. A good level of sleep, 8 hours a day, every single day. So good quality sleep is going to increase your body's natural levels of antioxidant activity and glutathione. Another big one is going to be avoiding stress or managing your stress. It's okay to have stress. Remember, stress is not a bad thing. Stress is designed to move us, to push us to do something because there's something we have to do, and so we get stressed out about it. But sometimes, and some people have problems with managing stress. They get way too much stress, they don't do anything to manage it or to sort out the problem. It builds and builds and builds. It causes so many issues, causing mental health issues. But in our case, what we're focusing on today is it causes faster aging. It causes more oxidative stress. Therefore, your hair goes gray, you lose hair, your skin looks wrinkled, you look worse overall with chronic high levels of stress. So managing your levels of stress, however you wish to do so, is going to be a very good thing for you to do. There are things we can avoid. So a really good one is avoiding too many UV rays. So you don't really want to be lying down in the sun turning into a roast chicken. You kind of want to use UV blockers, aka sun creams, sunblock, in order to avoid the harmful UV rays, which everyone knows leads to skin cancer, but of course also leads to skin damage. You get faster wrinkling, more aged skin, and it can cause some graying of the hair a little bit earlier as well. And lastly, this is a bit more of a nebulous one, is pollution exposure. So depending on where you live, there's not much you can do about this. Some places have a lot more pollution than other places, but in general, air pollution is going to be a significant factor as well when it comes to stress, oxidative stress in the body. There's a few, for the more scientifically or chemically inclined people among you, there's actually a few specific pathways that you can do a bit of research on yourself that are involved in this. The first one is called the WNT/beta-catenin pathway. What this pathway is involved in is activating hair follicle stem cells and activating hair follicle melanocytes. So this pathway is used for that. There's another pathway using something called MITF, which stands for microphthalmia associated transcription factor, so MITF. This is actually the master gene or the master signaling pathway for melanin production in the entire body. There's a very important genetic pathway to know about there. And the third pathway, also quite relevant, is something called the mitochondrial pathways and the oxidative stress pathways. And there's actually two here to know about. One is called NRF2, which is a transcription factor for gene expression. And the other one is called PGC-1 alpha, which is something that regulates the health of mitochondria in the bodies. So I won't delve into these sort of pathways in too much detail. I think that's a whole separate video by itself, and it'll be a very, very wordy and scientific video. But just know that there are these sort of scientific pathways and gene pathways that people do know about, but there is active research going on to see if we can affect these pathways and therefore develop a cure, for example, for hair graying or hair loss. But at the moment, there's no real cure. This is all just scientific experiments at the moment. So I hope that stuff was quite useful for you in terms of why hair goes gray and what we can actually do about it. Let's wrap it up a little bit and give some take-home messages what you can do at home. So the main causes are going to be melanocyte stem cell exhaustion, aka melanocytes dying off as you age. It's going to be oxidative stress, aka hydrogen peroxide buildup and reactive oxygen species production by the mitochondria. And it's going to be natural signaling cell pathway declines. Those signaling pathways I mentioned earlier. Those three factors are really what's going to cause graying of the hair. A lot of that is determined by genetics, so there's not much you can do. But where you can actually influence this is going to be the oxidative stress and the melanocyte stem cell exhaustion parts of it, not really the signaling pathways. Now, oxidative stress we've spoken about a little bit, but to sum up, you would basically want to get loads of antioxidants in you, and you want to reduce your production of reactive oxygen species and hydrogen peroxide. So getting it into you is going to be primarily food sources and also glutathione as a major antioxidant that you can take externally. And reducing production is going to be looking after yourself, to put it simply. Getting proper sleep, proper food, proper diet, proper exercise, drinking enough water per day, lowering your stress levels. That last one is the most important. And also address deficiencies early. So check your nutrient levels, keep particular attention to B12, iron, folic acid, zinc, and copper, as these are usually the likely nutrient deficiencies that lead to graying of the hair early, and if you are low in those, you get to work on replacing them, either through diet or through supplements in order to bring it back up. And lastly, I didn't really mention this earlier, but be gentle to your hair. Don't use harsh chemicals, don't bleach it, don't keep dyeing it different colors and so on and so forth. That's going to stress out the hair follicle and lead to premature graying, premature damage. Trying to use too many hair products, a little bit of a wax or a hairspray is absolutely fine, but don't whack it in huge amounts every single day. And overall, keep your scalp healthy and your hair clean. Increased blood flow to the scalp does help with hair growth. So keeping your scalp clean, not dry, make sure it's moisturized well, and using something like Nizoral, which is an antifungal shampoo, once or twice a week, pretty much forever, goes a long way to reducing scalp inflammation and giving you healthy hair overall. So if you liked this type of video where I take a little bit of a deep dive, keeping it at a certain level, so make it very understandable as to why hair goes grey and why you might end up going grey earlier than you expected, then give us a like, give us a subscribe, give us a follow, and we'll come out with some more of these soon. And I'm going to do something slightly different on this video because I am coming out with my own branded medications for this. So not only the standard minoxidil finasteride, but also things like oral glutathione you can take, as well as an antioxidant combo which has vitamin C, glutathione, so on and so forth. If you're interested in me to make something like this, then head to the description. There'll be a link there where you can put your details on a waiting list so that I can see how much interest this receives and hopefully try and get this out for you.